Keep it going for Jonas! Usually I'm the one hosting here on stage, but Jonas, he knocked it out of the park one time and he made me realize, oh yeah, this is fun, right?
Right.
Right. So, thanks, Mike. So this was a thing where I actually wrote some notes for some of the previous performers, except some of them aren't here, so I'm going to share them openly with you guys. I know. So the first one on stage tonight was Kavi, our tall Indian guy, in case you didn't know. He got a piece of advice from his parents, which was like, treat every woman like a sister. I don't think he thought that one all the way through, but just to carry that all the way, I wanted to say, like, you know, like I think a sort of kind of okay piece of advice, unless you're from Texas. All right, we're gonna lock that one in the basement.
Also said in Texas.
Yeah. And Austria, so you know. Pavel, I got really confused by two things from your set. Number one was the fact that you decided to explain my religion to me. The second thing is the way you pronounce Buddha. I was so confused. Was it Buddha or was it Buddha? Sorry, man. Two D's. I know it's confusing with Polish. I know. But the thing is that, like, technically speaking, I'm Buddhist. Most people don't know anything about Buddhism. That includes me. My parents, they are Buddhist. My dad's not religious, but my mom kind of is. But I asked her one day, like, hey, when we do the whole prayer thing, what does it even mean? And she's like, actually, I don't know. But you gotta do it. And I'm like, okay. So, like, usually when people ask me, I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm Buddhist, but just on paper. But one thing I learned from Pavel is that it's not on paper. It's on rabbits. Derek? I love hearing about your past, and especially your heavy metal days. You don't look like it these days, you know?
No, he don't.
Yeah, exactly. He looks grown up. You look very distinguished, Derek, if I may say so. But it sounds like your younger self is like a current day Zoe. I know. She's not in here, like, she's not allowed in here. There's a horseshoe over the door, you know?
And the cross.
Anyway, so tonight's night is about advice. I shared a little bit before, but not very much, but I wanted to do the rest like this. I wanted to do it with accents.
Oh.
But the thing is, the problem is, so like, I had this where, like, some comedian friends, they once asked me, like, I was telling them about advice that I got from my dad, actually, and they're like, oh, how did he say it? They looked at my face and they're like, can you do his accent? And I was like, I don't know, he sounds American. And here's the thing, they were expecting like a really funny, stereotypical Asian accent, which I can pull off, but they were white and they couldn't do it. Or they couldn't do it, like, respectively.
Do it.
But the thing is, I can't really do it, but you know what accent I can do?
Do it.
I think I'm not too bad at it, it's a Scottish accent. So for right now, we're going to pretend that my dad was Scottish, alright? Is that alright with you lot?
Aye.
Alright. So, I need a premise for this story. I need to know, where was I? How old was I? And yeah, that's it.
Strip club.
Strip club is where I was. Okay, with my dad at the strip club. Okay. And I was 12 years old. Alright. Okay. So, actually, somewhat based on a true story. So,
Can I add something?
Yes, please.
That was north of Quebec. Nobody spoke English.
That's very specific.
Because nobody speaks English there.
You know what? I'm gonna take the true story that we were in Vietnam, where
That's actually
people
better.
don't speak English.
And they were 12 in a strip club?
It's Vietnam.
Are you being cis? Go!
All right. So I was with my dad, in a nightclub. And it was actually a Wednesday night. We went down to the hotel bar, which was kind of a club in general. At the time, it was quite deserted. And we sat down. We don't really like talk personal talk, you know? We're not that kind of relationship. But then he looked at me and he was like, well, laddie, I think it's time to finally have this personal talk, don't you think? And I was like, Dad, I don't know. It's kind of a weird environment. It's like, well, no one's around. We can just do it, can't we? All right, so what do you want to say? And he said, Sonny boy, you can be better. And I thought to myself, I'm an Asian child, I can always be better. So the thing was that the strange thing that happened that turned it into a bit of a strip club was that all of a sudden it was an empty hotel bar and about 50 women walked through in skimpy short skirt dresses and stuff like that. They just walked through and sort of, yeah. Maybe 30, you know, but who's counting? They're Asian. And then they walked right by, they sat down in the corner. Like, imagine that whole corner there was crowded full of like Asian women in short skirts. And we were just like, it's confusing. And I turned to my dad and I was like, what do you think that's all about? And he said, well, son, this is a blank piece of paper. Well, son, masturbation causes blindness.
Oh shit.
Well, that's why we gotta walk over there and see what's going on. But neither of us were really courageous enough to go and like talk to like 30 women, you know? One woman sometimes, it's intimidating, but 30, on the other hand, I don't know. But then I thought, oh, Dad, I don't know what to do. They're pretty, but like, how do I talk to all of them? My Vietnamese sucks. What do I do, Dad? And he said, well, son, the only thing you need to bear in mind is no sharks can smell period blood. And you, sir, should be a shark tonight. But the thing was, like, before we actually managed to get a chance to go and talk to these women. Hello? Okay. So before we got a chance to go talk to these women, someone from the bar staff, she came over with a clipboard. And she came and she sat down, she talked to us, and we were like, what's going on there? And she was like, oh yeah, well, if you'd like one of them to come and sit down with you, you just pay. Well, beyond with that is up to you. So we looked at that and we thought, okay, that's a curious thing. What do we do? And my dad, I was like, Dad, what do we do? Should we like hire one of them? That feels a bit weird, especially to talk to my dad.
And you're 12 years old.
And you're 12 years old. And then he said, don't puke on your girlfriend's mouth. Which was a bit presumptuous, I thought, because we hadn't even met yet. Don't puke on your girlfriend's mouth.
Don't.
Don't.
Oh.
I know, it's a bit new.
So, someone wrote this down and said, this is the bad advice, don't puke.
That's the bad advice, yeah.
Like, okay.
It's what you got to work with.
Pretty good advice.
That's
though.
actually a good advice, man.
Yeah, don't puke in your girlfriend's mouth. I would dump him.
I mean, I guess it depends on what your alternatives are.
Pee in the mouth?
Because if it's like, I could puke in her mouth, or...
Not puke in
Anyway, so
Bukake.
the thing is that we hesitated. We hesitated for a while, and then all of a sudden these like 5 like Japanese businessmen types, they came and sat down in another corner, and they were the kind of people who were like sitting there, and they had like 10 girls line up in front of them so they could be like, oh, I want that one, and that one, and that one. You know, that kind of, these kind of bro man types. And I looked at that with my dad, and I was like, oh, that looks really disappointing. I don't want to grow up to be a man like that, Dad. How do I do that? And he said, well, sonny boy, get a driver's license in Poland.
That's actually good advice.
And apparently that's what I did.
This is actually really good advice.
That's it for me tonight. We'll see you next week in Czarny on Tuesday. We'll be back here again in 2 weeks. I'll be back hosting. Thank you very much.